It started as a simple job. Walk the dog, get paid, go home. But Ji-hoon didn't expect that behind those locked gates and tinted windows lived a man hiding from the world and from himself. A man who hired him not to walk the dog, but to stay. This isn't just a story about love. It's about fear, healing, and the way two broken hearts slowly learn to beat in rhythm again. Welcome to I Was Hired to Walk His Dog, but he didn't want the dog walked. Ji-hoon was 22, an overworked, underpaid college student trying to make ends meet. Between night classes and double shifts at a convenience store, he barely had time to breathe. Still, he was the kind of person who smiled through exhaustion, who gave stray cats food even when he skipped dinner himself. When he saw the job listing, dog walker needed, good pay, private residence, it felt like fate. The pay was double the usual rate, and the address led to a quiet, secluded mansion on the city's outskirts. The house itself looked untouched by time. Tall gates, polished stone walls, curtains drawn shut even in the middle of the day. A silence that made Ji-hoon hesitate before ringing the bell. That's when he met him, Sung-hyun. Late 20s, tall, impossibly composed, the kind of man whose mere presence made you stand straighter. His voice was low, his gaze cold, but something in his expression flickered. Curiosity, maybe? Or recognition? You're here for the dog? Sung-hyun asked simply. Ji-hoon nodded, trying not to fumble his words. Yes. The ad said you needed someone to walk. Cloud, Sung-hyun finished. Yes. But you don't need to take him outside. Ji-hoon blinked. Sorry? Walk him here, inside, in the garden. Don't take him beyond the gate. That was strange, but the pay was good, and Sung-hyun didn't seem like someone you questioned. So Ji-hoon just smiled and said, of course, softly. He didn't know then that this house was more than a home. It was a prison built out of grief, and Sung-hyun was both the prisoner and the warden. At first, Ji-hoon told himself it didn't matter. It was just a paycheck. Walk the dog, sweep a few leaves, go home. But curiosity, it's a dangerous thing. Every day he arrived at the pristine mansion, greeted by Cloud's joyful barks, and by Sung-hyun's unreadable gaze. Sometimes Sung-hyun lingered near the living room, pretending to check his phone, while Ji-hoon threw the ball for Cloud. Other times, he disappeared into his study, but Ji-hoon could still feel him nearby like static in the air. One afternoon, Ji-hoon finally asked, why can't I take him outside? He looks like he misses the park. Sung-hyun didn't look up from his papers. It's not safe. For Cloud? Ji-hoon tilted his head. Or for you? That made Sung-hyun freeze. For a second, the mask slipped, just enough for Ji-hoon to see the pain beneath the calm. Then quietly, he said, both. Ji-hoon didn't push. But from that day forward, he started noticing things he hadn't before. The tinted cars parked down the street, the cameras hidden in the garden corners, the way Sung-hyun would flinch at sudden noises, a door slamming, thunder rolling in the distance. Something or someone had hurt him deeply. Ji-hoon didn't know the details, but he began to understand one thing. Sung-hyun wasn't cold. He was scared. Soft piano music tone. And fear sometimes wears the face of indifference. Days turned into weeks. Ji-hoon found excuses to linger longer, helping with chores, staying for tea, reading in the corner while Cloud slept at his feet. Sung-hyun never asked him to leave. Their conversations were brief, but loaded. Do you always talk to dogs like that? Sung-hyun asked once, watching Ji-hoon laugh as he played fetch. Only the handsome ones, Ji-hoon replied, before realizing what he'd said. The silence that followed was heavy. Then Seung-hyun smiled, just barely. A fleeting, fragile thing that made Ji-hoon's heart ache. One evening, it rained, hard. Ji-hoon stayed late to make sure Cloud wasn't frightened. The house felt smaller under the storm's sound. When thunder cracked, Seung-hyun appeared in the doorway, eyes shadowed, jaw tight. "Are you okay?" Ji-hoon asked softly. Seung-hyun didn't answer. He just stood there, drenched from checking the garden lights, his shirt clinging to his skin. There was something raw in his expression. Fear, maybe, or vulnerability. Ji-hoon reached out instinctively, brushing a wet strand of hair from Seung-hyun's face. "You don't have to do everything alone, you know." The room went silent, except for the rain. Something shifted that night. Subtle, but undeniable. After that, the air between them changed, heavier, charged. They avoided each other's eyes, yet every glance burned, every accidental touch lingered too long. Whisper tone. And then Ji-hoon discovered the truth. It happened by accident. He was looking for a towel when he opened the wrong drawer in Seung-hyun's study. Inside were old newspaper clippings, headlines about a corporate scandal, a car explosion, an attempted kidnapping. Photos of Seung-hyun surrounded by bodyguards looking younger, unguarded, smiling. When Ji-hoon turned, Seung-hyun was standing in the doorway. "Why are you snooping around?" His voice was sharp, almost trembling. I was just... Ji-hoon started, guilt flooding his face. "Do you think I hired you because I'm lonely?" Seung-hyun's tone cracked. "Do you have any idea what danger this could bring you?" Ji-hoon swallowed hard. "Then why keep me here?" Silence. The storm outside seemed to hold its breath. "Because," Seung-hyun finally whispered, "when you're here, I forget to be afraid." That confession shattered the distance between them. For the first time, Ji-hoon saw the man behind the fear. Not the air, not the recluse, but a broken soul clinging to peace wherever he could find it. He took a step forward. "Then let me stay." Seung-hyun looked torn, between desire and dread. "You don't understand what you're asking for." "Then explain it to me," Ji-hoon said gently. "Explain why every time I laugh, you look like you're about to fall apart." The words hung in the air, intimate, dangerous. And when Seung-hyun finally looked up, his eyes said everything his mouth wouldn't. The first sound wasn't the tires. It was fear. A subtle shift in the air, thick, electric, almost heavy enough to touch. Ji-hoon felt it before he even saw the car. One moment, the mansion was silent except for the soft hum of rain against the windows. The next, Cloud was growling low, ears pinned back, gaze fixed on the front gate. The sharp squeal of rubber cutting through wet pavement echoed through the night. Headlights sliced across the manicured hedges, flooding the marble entryway in white light. Ji-hoon froze, the black SUV idled just beyond the gate, engine rumbling like a living thing. Its tinted windows reflected nothing, no faces, no movement, just black glass, blank and unyielding. He turned toward Seung-hyun's study. The door was slightly ajar. A sliver of light spilled from inside, golden and fragile against the storm-dark night. Ji-hoon's voice wavered. "Seung-hyun, someone's outside." No answer, only the soft creak of the study chair, then the sound of footsteps, measured, deliberate, calm in a way that didn't match the storm outside. When Seung-hyun appeared, he wasn't the elegant, distant man Ji-hoon was used to seeing. His usual composure had fractured, just slightly, but enough for Ji-hoon to notice. His jaw was tense. His eyes, usually cold steel, flickered with something raw. He crossed to the window beside Ji-hoon and parted the curtain. For a moment, his reflection overlapped Ji-hoon's in the glass, two silhouettes, one trembling, one still as stone. Stay here, Sung-hyun said quietly. Wait, who are they? Ji-hoon asked, voice trembling. Sung-hyun didn't answer. He simply straightened, adjusted the cuff of his shirt and stepped toward the door. Cloud barked again, louder this time, as if trying to stop him. Ji-hoon's pulse hammered in his throat. This wasn't normal. None of it was. He hesitated only a second before following. Outside, rain poured harder, drenching the cobblestone path in silver streaks. Sung-hyun walked through it without an umbrella. Head held high, steps precise, Ji-hoon hovered at the doorway watching him approach the gate with quiet defiance. The SUV door opened. A man stepped out, tall, suited, his face shadowed by the brim of his hat. His presence alone carried weight, the kind that came from danger or authority, or both. Mr. Kang, the man greeted, voice smooth but edged. It's been a while. Sung-hyun didn't flinch. You weren't invited. The man smiled, though there was no warmth in it. You don't answer calls. We were worried. Ji-hoon's stomach knotted. We. The man's gaze flicked to the house. And who's that? Ji-hoon stumbled back as their eyes met. Sung-hyun stepped slightly in front of him, shielding him without hesitation. No one you need to know, he said, his tone now sharp as glass. This isn't your concern. But the stranger chuckled. Oh, I think it is. You're not the type to let strangers into your home, especially him. The implication hung heavy in the rain. Ji-hoon didn't understand. His chest felt tight, his throat dry. What was happening? Who were these people? Go inside, Sung-hyun ordered, voice low but firm. Ji-hoon wanted to argue, to demand answers, but something in Sung-hyun's expression, something protective, desperate even, made him obey. He stepped back, heart pounding. Through the rain-smeared window, the world outside looked like a painting in motion, all grey smudges and trembling light. Ji-hoon stood motionless, one hand pressed to the cold glass, eyes wide, heartbeat uneven. He could barely make out their shapes now, Sung-hyun and the stranger, standing just beyond the gates, their figures distorted by the storm. But even through the blur of water and shadow, Ji-hoon could feel it. The tension, the restrained violence beneath every still movement. Their gestures were sharp, controlled, too practiced, too deliberate. Not friends, not neighbors, something else entirely. Sung-hyun's shoulders were squared, but not in defiance, in defense. Like a man holding back a wave that was already breaking. Every line of his body screamed composure, but Ji-hoon knew him well enough by now to see through it. The slight tremor in his right hand, the way his jaw flexed whenever the stranger spoke, the way his eyes darted, not in fear, but in calculation. Ji-hoon couldn't hear what they were saying, but he didn't need to. The silence between the words was enough. It was the kind of silence that carried danger. The other man moved closer, his body language too casual to be innocent. His hand gestured toward the house, toward Ji-hoon, as if accusing him of something he didn't even understand. Ji-hoon's breath hitched. Instinctively, he stepped back from the window. His fingers trembled as he gripped the edge of the curtain. He wasn't supposed to be part of this. He was just the dog walker, just the boy who fed Cloud treats and tried not to overstep his place in this beautiful, suffocating mansion. But now, it felt like the air itself had shifted, like every secret Sung-hyun had been keeping was no longer content to stay hidden. Ji-hoon's gaze darted toward Cloud, who stood near the door, fur bristled, low growls rumbling deep in his throat. The dog's instincts confirmed it. Something was wrong. Something threatening lingered in that rain, A flash of lightning illuminated the scene outside, freezing everything for one stark moment. Hyun's face caught in the glare, sharp and unguarded, his eyes burning with an emotion Ji-hoon had never seen before. Not anger, not fear, pain. The kind of pain you carry for years, buried under elegance and silence. Ji-hoon's breath fogged against the glass. He could barely stand still. Every instinct told him to go to Hyun, to step outside, to demand answers. But the same instinct, the one that had learned to read Hyun's quiet moods, his careful boundaries, held him back. Because whatever was happening now, it wasn't meant for him. Not yet. Minutes passed like hours. The rain thickened, falling in silver curtains. Ji-hoon watched helpless as the stranger leaned in, saying something low, something that made Hyun's hands clench at his sides. Hyun didn't react violently. He never did. His composure was almost unnatural, sculpted by years of control. But Ji-hoon could see it now. The storm building beneath that calm, the cracks in the armor he wore every day. Then the man reached into his coat. Ji-hoon's pulse spiked. His body moved before his mind caught up, one hand flying to the doorframe as if to stop himself from running out there. His chest felt like it might split in two, but instead of a weapon, the stranger pulled out a small, white envelope. He pressed it against Hyun's chest, not roughly, but firmly, the way someone might return a debt long overdue. Even from a distance, Ji-hoon saw the way Hyun froze. His head dipped slightly, eyes closing for a brief, pained second before taking the envelope. The man said something else, something final, and turned back toward the SUV. A door slammed. The engine roared. Headlights flared once more, slicing through the sheets of rain before vanishing into the night. And then, nothing. Only the rain. Only silence. Only Hyun standing alone at the gate, shoulders slumped, head bowed. For the first time since Ji-hoon had met him, the man who seemed untouchable looked tired, truly, achingly tired. Ji-hoon pressed his forehead to the glass, his chest aching. He didn't understand what had just happened, who that man was, what that envelope contained, or why Hyun looked like the world had just collapsed quietly inside him. All he knew was this: he wanted to go to him. It was an impulse he couldn't reason with. The same one that made him stay late to feed Cloud, that made him notice the little things. The way Hyun's eyes softened when Cloud rested his head on his lap. The way he lingered by the window long after the sun had set, staring at something Ji-hoon couldn't see. So he moved. Before he could talk himself out of it, he ran down the hall, bare feet silent against the floor. The front door was still half open, rain spilling in. The air smelled of earth and something electric. When Hyun finally turned, Ji-hoon was already there, small, soaked from the rain, breathless. "Ji-hoon," Hyun said, startled. His voice was low, roughened by something unsaid. "You shouldn't be out here." "What happened?" Ji-hoon's words came out like a whisper. "Who was that?" "Go inside," Hyun said automatically, brushing past him. But Ji-hoon didn't move. "You're shaking." Hyun stopped mid-step. The words hung there, quiet but sharp. Ji-hoon took a hesitant step closer. "You said it didn't matter who I was, that I was just here for Cloud. But that's not true, is it? You're hiding something." The silence that followed felt infinite. Hyun didn't answer immediately. His breath came out uneven, fogging in the cold. Finally, he turned to face Ji-hoon fully. Rain dripping from his hair, eyes shadowed and dark. "You don't need to know, Ji-hoon," he said softly. "It's safer that way." "I don't care about safe," Ji-hoon said, surprising himself. "I care about you." The words fell between them like lightning, sudden, impossible to ignore. For a moment, neither moved. Then Seung-hyun let out a quiet, bitter laugh, the kind that sounded like it hurt. "You shouldn't," he said. "Not me." But his voice trembled, just slightly. Ji-hoon took another step forward. "Then tell me why. Tell me what all this is. The cars, the men, the fear in your eyes every time a door opens. You owe me that much." Seung-hyun closed his eyes. The rain had soaked through his shirt now, tracing down the curve of his neck, his collarbone. He looked almost fragile like that, a man made of strength and sorrow. Finally, he whispered, "You wouldn't believe me. Then make me believe you." Something in Ji-hoon's tone must have reached him, because Seung-hyun finally exhaled, long and trembling, like a confession ready to be born. He looked up, meeting Ji-hoon's eyes, and for the first time, he didn't hide behind indifference. "I used to work for people who don't forgive betrayal," he said quietly. "I left them. I thought I could disappear. But no one really leaves." Ji-hoon's breath caught. "Those men, they were from your past." "Yes." His voice broke slightly. "And they've found me again." The realization settled heavy in Ji-hoon's chest. Everything suddenly made sense. The locked gates, the private guards, the long nights of silence where Seung-hyun seemed to listen for something only he could hear. He wanted to say something comforting, something brave, but all that came out was a whisper. "You don't have to face it alone." Seung-hyun's expression shifted, surprise, then something softer. "Ji-hoon, please," Ji-hoon said, "let me stay. Even if you think it's a mistake, even if you think I shouldn't care, I'm already here." For a long time, Seung-hyun just looked at him, really looked. The rain fell softer now, as if the storm itself was holding its breath. Then finally, he spoke. "You're a fool," he said quietly. "You have no idea what this could cost you." "Then teach me," Ji-hoon said, meeting his gaze, "because walking away from you feels worse." Something inside Seung-hyun gave way. The exhaustion in his face melted into something else, something unguarded, painful, and tender, all at once. He reached out, hesitated, then placed a trembling hand against Ji-hoon's cheek. His touch was cold, but the warmth behind it nearly undid Ji-hoon completely. "I told myself I didn't need anyone," Seung-hyun whispered, "that I couldn't risk it again. But you..." Ji-hoon leaned into his touch, eyes closing, then stopped pushing me away. And for a fleeting moment, under the dim glow of the mansion lights and the dying rain, they stood there, two men on opposite sides of fear, meeting in the middle. No promises, no safety, just the fragile truth between them. That night, long after Seung-hyun retreated to his study and Ji-hoon lay awake listening to the fading thunder, neither of them slept, because some storms end outside the window, but others begin in the heart, and this one had only just begun. And then the man reached into his coat. Ji-hoon's breath caught. But instead of a weapon, he pulled out an envelope, thick, sealed, and pressed it into Seung-hyun's hand. Whatever was inside made Seung-hyun freeze. His head dropped slightly, his jaw tightening. The SUV door slammed. The engine roared to life, and just as quickly as they came, the car disappeared into the rain. The silence that followed was deafening. Seung-hyun stood still for a long time, shoulders bowed under the weight of something unseen. Then slowly, he turned back toward the mansion. His steps were heavier now, measured but drained of energy. Ji-hoon met him at the door. "What was that?" he asked, his voice breaking. "Who were they? Why did they..." "Ji-hoon." Seung-hyun's tone was quiet, tired. "Please, not now." He brushed past him, the scent of rain and cologne lingering like a ghost in the air. Ji-hoon watched him disappear into the study and shut the door behind him. Cloud whimpered softly at Ji-hoon's feet. Hours passed, the rain slowed. The mansion fell silent again, but the air didn't ease. Ji-hoon paced the hallway staring at the closed study door. His heart felt too big for his chest. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. He pushed the door open. Seung-hyun sat at the desk, head in his hands, the envelope torn open beside him. Scattered papers littered the surface, photographs, documents, and one word that caught Ji-hoon's eye. Witness protection. Ji-hoon's breath hitched. Seung-hyun looked up, startled, and in that split second, Ji-hoon saw it. The raw fear behind his eyes. "You weren't supposed to see that," Seung-hyun whispered. "What is it? What's going on? Why are there people watching the house?" Seung-hyun exhaled shakily, leaning back in his chair. "You wouldn't believe me even if I told you. Try me." A long silence stretched between them. Then finally, Seung-hyun spoke. "I wasn't always who you think I am," he said. "Before all this, I was someone else. Someone with enemies." Ji-hoon's throat went dry. "You're saying you're in hiding?" Seung-hyun's eyes flicked toward the window, toward the darkness beyond. "I was part of a company that did things. Illegal things. I left when I realized what it really was. But leaving doesn't erase the past. They've been looking for me ever since. And Cloud? Cloud was a gift from someone I trusted. Someone who's gone now. He's the only one left who reminds me of the life I lost." It hit Ji-hoon then. The reason for the tinted cars, the constant glances toward the gate, the locked doors. "Then why keep me here?" Ji-hoon asked, voice trembling. "Why hire me at all?" Seung-hyun's expression softened. "Because," he said quietly, "Cloud liked you, and I didn't know how to be around anyone anymore." Something fragile cracked open in the air between them. Ji-hoon stepped closer, heart pounding. "You could have told me." "I didn't want to drag you into this," Seung-hyun said. "You're too kind for this world." Ji-hoon shook his head. "You don't get to decide that for me." For a moment, neither moved. The storm outside had calmed, but inside, something else was brewing, something far more dangerous. Seung-hyun's gaze lingered on Ji-hoon, traveling from his trembling hands to the worry in his eyes. Slowly, deliberately, he rose from his chair. The distance between them disappeared. "I told myself not to get close to anyone," Seung-hyun said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But you kept showing up. You kept making this place feel alive again." Ji-hoon's breath caught. Seung-hyun. And then, silence. The kind that holds everything unspoken. Cloud shifted quietly near the door, as if sensing the weight of what neither man could say. The rain had stopped completely now. Only the sound of their breathing filled the room. Seung-hyun's hand lifted, hesitated, then brushed against Ji-hoon's cheek, a touch so light it barely existed. "You should go," he whispered. "It's not safe here anymore." But Ji-hoon didn't move. "Then neither of us should stay alone." The words hung there, raw, trembling, defiant. For the first time in a long while, Seung-hyun's guarded mask cracked. Not with fear, but with something like hope. And though the night outside still hummed with danger, within those walls, something shifted. Not safety, not certainty, but connection. It was the beginning of something neither of them had planned for. And that night, the mansion no longer felt like a cage, because for the first time, both of them stopped pretending they weren't lonely. Whisper tone. "Maybe," Ji-hoon thought, "he didn't hire me for the dog after all." Seung-hyun froze mid-step. His hand trembled. "They found me." Before Ji-hoon could ask who they were, Seung-hyun grabbed his wrist. "Go to the back now, not without you," Ji-hoon protested. But Seung-hyun's voice broke, for the first time, truly broke. "Please, if you care about me, Do this. Ji-hoon's heart pounded, but something inside him rebelled. He wasn't leaving this man. Not now, not ever. So instead of running, he locked the front doors, grabbed Cloud's leash, and stood beside Sung-hyun. Whatever this is, you're not facing it alone. Moments later, the gate burst open. 2 men stepped out, faces obscured, but their intent was clear. Ji-hoon realized then, this wasn't just fear. It was a past catching up. It turned out Sung-hyun had once been the heir to a powerful conglomerate, one that had enemies. Years ago, an internal betrayal had led to a car accident that wasn't an accident at all. His parents were gone, and he'd vanished from the public eye, presumed dead. Only a handful of people knew he was alive, and one of them had finally sold him out. The confrontation didn't end in violence. Because Ji-hoon's quick thinking saved them both, he hit the panic button by the door, summoning the security team Sung-hyun had long kept on standby. By the time the authorities arrived, the intruders were gone. But something had changed between them. They had faced the storm together. Later that night, when everything was quiet again, Ji-hoon found Sung-hyun sitting on the floor, Cloud's head in his lap. "You shouldn't have stayed," Sung-hyun murmured. "I could have lost you too." Ji-hoon knelt beside him. "You didn't lose me. You found me." Their eyes met, soft, trembling, full of everything they'd been too afraid to say. When Sung-hyun leaned forward, Ji-hoon met him halfway. It wasn't a desperate kiss. It was slow, uncertain, almost reverent, like they were both learning how to breathe again. For once, Sung-hyun didn't flinch at the thunder. He leaned into it because Ji-hoon was there. Months passed. The tinted car stopped coming. The mansion, once haunted by silence, filled with laughter, music, and warmth. Ji-hoon still walked Cloud, but now through open gates, into sunlight. Sometimes Sung-hyun would join them, hand brushing Ji-hoon's as they strolled past the hedges. It wasn't a fairy tale. Sung-hyun still had nightmares. Ji-hoon still struggled with bills and classes. But they faced everything together, not as employer and employee, but as 2 men who'd learned to choose love despite fear. Ji-hoon used to think this job would pay his rent. Instead, it gave him something priceless. Someone who finally saw him, and someone he could protect in return. If this story touched your heart, tell us in the comments. Was it sweet, emotional, heartbreaking? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more BL love stories and yaoi manhwa summaries. And check the description for full story links and more beautiful BL webtoons that'll make you believe in love again.